Why insurance rentals? Like, what does that even mean?
It's been insurance for a long time, and we have somebody in there paying
$6,800
a month.
We have
On a house you bought for $100,000.
Yes.
We have a 15-year note at $1,200 a month. I mean, insurance is the best because
never have to chase them.
No one's upset. They're just happy to be placed in a nice house.
Yeah.
We're happy to provide a nice house for a great rate, and the insurance just needs to take care of their people. And
Then the interesting thing was,
What's going on, Wealth Builders? Today, we are going to talk about IMTRs. You probably never heard of it, but we're talking about these insurance rentals and how they can cash flow crazy amounts of money. I'm talking $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $9,000 a month. And let me tell you, I'm skeptical too, because I'm always a hater of any time I hear cash flow and rentals. But when the insurance company's paying, all bets are off. So I've got Jason and Jaclyn. What's up?
What's going on?
Good to see you
hey,
guys.
Ryan, thanks so
Blessing
much
to
for
be here.
having us.
Yeah. So we've had the chance to talk the last few days at the event and, even here now. So it's been great to meet you guys, believers, and doing a lot of stuff for the kingdom. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah. So what about insurance? Like why insurance rentals? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? We didn't know this going into it. We got thrust into this 9 years ago, and we were in a bad situation. We had a condo. We got married 2010. I had a condo that I bought previous to that. And in 2007, I refinanced it. And then in 2008, everything crashed. 2008-9, I was underwater big time. And people were saying like, bro, just walk away. Just walk. Everyone's walking away. So the repercussions can't be too bad when everyone's doing it. So there's no reason to keep it. You're going to have to stay in there for decades. And I'm like, I'm not the walk away kind of guy. I just can't do it. So we stuck through it and we moved into it after we got married. But then all of a sudden we got this crazy call on our lives to move to China. So year one of marriage, we quit our jobs and left for China. And at that point,
This is going to make or break a marriage.
I know, right?
And with a negative cash flowing underwater condo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right into the fire. I like it.
So we're like, we got to get people in here. We have to make something if we're not going to walk away. So we got renters in there, and we were making, at the beginning, probably close to $1,500, $1,700 in that region. And we had an adjustable rate mortgage on our first, and then we had a second on top of that, and then California HOA fees, which are like a few $100s.
It was bad.
So it was bad. We were probably all in around, it ranged.
2,400, something like that.
21, 22, 23, kept climbing, 2,400. And so we established new businesses in China, and we just sent money back to cover the margin on our long-term renters. And that's what we did for years.
Years.
Right? And then all of a sudden, we found ourselves in the States one summer, going to a ministry event.
Crazy.
And we're in Kansas in the middle of nowhere. And we just signed a new lease, a renewal with our tenants, like less than a month prior. And so we're pretty secure in our negative cash flow, at least.
Yep.
And I get this call, and it goes like this. Hey, we've been offered another house bigger than yours. Ours was a condo. It was a single family home with a pool in the backyard, a great view. It was a better situation, larger, better area.
Is there any way we can break the lease?
Because we've been
this
offered
month
it for the same price as we're paying you. And I'm like, first thought is like, dude, we just signed a lease. Kidding me? But then I'm listening and I feel in my spirit just a peace about it. And so I'm like, okay, it doesn't make sense, but to have an irrational peace, to me, that's a lot of times a sign that God is in this.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? Let me talk to Jack, but I think we might be able to do this. I think this might work out. And so hung up, and then I talked to her, and I didn't think she was going to respond the same way, but she, crazily enough, had the same peace inside.
Yeah.
So we let them break the lease. They moved on. We didn't know what we were going to do. So we started posting on Facebook. Can we get somebody in? Anybody interested? And then the conference ended, and we moved back. We went back to China. We're doing all this remotely now, trying to find tenants. And then her mom reaches out and says,
She basically just told me that there was a major gas leak in a valley that was neighboring to ours. So it was like 20 to 30 minutes away from ours. And she had a house on the other side of that valley. And an insurance company reached out to her and said, hey, is your home available? We have a family to place. We're trying to place like thousands of families, get them out of this valley into nearby ones so they can keep going to work and school. So she's like, I wonder if yours is too far and if they would take it. It's a condo, but just try. So she gave me their number. I called them. That was Travelers Haven, based out of like Colorado. I called them and they're like just kind of pushing me. I was like, yeah, go to the website, submit it. So I'm like, okay. So I went to the website, submitted it. Nothing. Called them again. And they were just kind of like, you could tell they were like super busy hustling and they just didn't want to hear from some random person.
Yeah.
But then I was like, are you by chance super busy with the gas leak placements? And he's like, yes. Wait, is your home within 30 miles of the gas leak? And I was like, yeah, it's a condo, but it is. And he was just like, boom, we'll take it. Like, I have a family right now that I'll take it. Like, how many bedrooms, how many baths? And
he's like, how much do you want?
I was like so nervous. I didn't know what to do. So, and my mom's like, it's insurance. They pay huge. So we were getting like $1,800 and how much do you want a month in rent? And I was like, we're going to get $3,000 a month for this place. So
Yeah.
I'm like going big. And he goes,
Yeah.
$3,000? Oh, I can probably get you closer to $5,500, but let me get on this. And I was like, a month?
Yeah.
And Jason's like right there. I'm just like, what? So then he goes, I'll call you back in a few hours. We're firming this up, blah, blah, blah. And we were just like absolutely panicked. And then the next morning I wake up.
Yeah, I get a call. It's in the middle of the night.
You know,
'cause we're
it's
in
China,
time.
so 12-hour
it.
difference.
Right. So long story short, they come back to us and give us $7,000 a month.
No
Because
way.
they had a
They had
dog.
a pet, you
So they were
know,
like-
so they bumped it up and, you know, it was sweet.
I woke up to that
So,
news in the morning.
It was
He's
a
like,
2-month contract and we're like, let's do it. So
Covers
2
a
months.
year.
They ended up,
Literally.
yeah, they ended up pushing out to 5.5 months.
Oh, wow.
So we made more in that 5.5 months than, you know, we made in the last 2 years of.
And the fun little God twist to that was we also began adopting our son at the same exact time. Like we started the process and that adoption cost like 35 grand.
Got it.
And so it was literally like covered
Yeah.
by
Wow.
that. And his name, we adopted him already. He was already named and everything. And his name means a gift from God.
Wow.
I was like, literally,
Yeah.
of course, God paid for it.
Yeah.
So it
Super
was
cool. So that's what got us into it.
Yeah.
And after that 5.5 months, we're like, there's no way we're going back to LTRs. There's
Yeah.
no way.
But
you
we
know?
also knew like there's no way we can just depend on insurance. There's not gas leaks every day, right? Like this is a once in a lifetime event.
Yeah.
Paying billions of dollars. So
So we jumped into the STR market. We started doing Airbnb.
just kind of
you
new
know,
at that time. It was quite new.
What
at
year
that
was
time.
this?
This is 2015, 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got into Airbnb in 2017 and it was still like
Yeah.
super.
It was
Oh,
like
it
at
was
this
a
point, you could
heyday.
throw a mattress in a room and you're still cash flowing, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we made a lot of money on Airbnb alone.
We did.
Starting that way.
Yeah. So we did that. And that's where we learned the STR game, the whole Superhost
But
thing.
then the interesting thing was every now and then I would get an insurance company. Hey, I see your home. Is it available for 4 months? I have this family whose house, burned in a fire.
Right.
And I was like, dang it, I can't say yes because it's actually booked for
Yep.
the next, or like it has a booking next weekend or whatever. And I
they
don't want
would've
to
paid
lose
way more.
Superhost. And they're willing to pay every single night, like without. So I'd be like, So I knew that it was more than just the like gas leak situations. That's what kind of like opened my eyes to it.
Yeah.
And my mom actually kept her house still going too. Like after that moved out, she said, if you ever have any other like insurance needs, my house is here. So her house, which was 2 valleys away, was like continually being used for insurance. And so it made us really think like, how do we get
What's
more
going on? What are
into
we missing here?
insurance?
Yeah.
It's a lot nicer to get paid by them rather than directly by.
I mean,
people
insurance
that-
is the best because
never
no
have to
one,
chase 'em.
no one's upset.
Yeah.
The tenant isn't not paying. They're just happy to be placed in a nice house.
Yeah.
We're happy to provide a nice house for a great rate. And the insurance just needs to take care of their people.
Yeah, and you don't need to like go all crazy like Airbnb now. Like you got to have like themes and all these
Oh,
amenities
yeah.
and
I
crazy
mean-
things to stand out.
Yeah. Airbnb's pushing the experience so hard right now. And I mean, it's not like you can't make it in STR. Like people are saying, Airbnb's dead. It's not dead. It's just that there's more hosts than ever. And in order to differentiate yourself, you really got to rise to the top. You raise the standards. And most people just are mediocre at best. So
Yeah.
they're not going to win.
Yeah, the cream rises to the top, and there's just way more laws now for
Yeah.
short-term rentals.
Yeah, you got
for
restrictions
sure.
with HOAs and then ordinances from the city. Yeah, it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah. So you guys are doing Airbnb early on when it's easy.
Yep.
Yep.
And I would say back then, yeah, it was super easy. We were making a killing. At what point did you finally switch to this full-time insurance play?
So we repatriated to the United States from China in summer of 2017. And we didn't know what we were going to do. It was
So by the way, you're doing this all virtually from China.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Doing it all
Yeah.
from China. So we didn't know what we were going to do. We had to leave China. It was unexpected, but it was because of the intricacies of the adoption. It forced us to move back to the States.
What made you go to China in the first place?
After we got married, before we got married, when we were just dating, we had a hard breakup. We didn't talk for 5 months. She finished university and straight
I
up
studied
moved.
Mandarin in university. He had spoken Mandarin already. He had done mission trips
Little
to Beijing and stuff. We had a love for China. Like both of us loved China a lot.
So
So-
we're not talking. She straight up moves to China. She knows one person. She just gets on a plane and
It's the
moves.
cleanest breakup ever.
She's like, I got my degree. I'm out. And so she moved out there. And then by the grace of God, it's another story, but we started talking again and then rekindling and healing. And then I flew out there for a surprise proposal. She said yes, moved back to LA. That's when we got married. And then like a couple months into marriage, she's like tugging on my sleeve, like, babe, I just don't think our time and my time in China's done yet. I think we should really consider going back. What do you think? I'm like, babe, like I got this long-standing clientele. You know, I've been a trainer for a long, long time. I'm running. I just did $1 million build out on a new fitness facility. I'm teaching directly next door at a private school. I got a cush set up. I'm walking back and forth between jobs. Got the best of the best clients forever. I'm like, this isn't something we just try out. This is like, we better pray about this.
Yeah.
Like we need God's confirmation on this. So we just shot up a simple prayer. We're just like, Father, we want to move to China. If it would please you, we ask that you'd open up a door for us. And if not, then we'll stay here in LA and be content. And in case it happened, we just put aside $500 a month, just in case. And I don't know if it was 3 months or 5 months, but a few months down, friends of ours from China reached out to us. We didn't tell anybody. They didn't know anything. And they're like, hey, we're going back to Toronto. So one of them was Canadian, one was Taiwanese. We're going back to Toronto to have our first child. And we were just thinking about you and just want to know, would you want a house sit for us for the summer? I mean, you don't have to pay anything. And we're like, we're moving to China.
Wow.
So we just dropped everything and moved out there. We didn't have anything in place, but we knew God is on this, so we weren't scared.
right.
Yeah.
So that's how we ended up out there. We thought we were going to be out there indefinitely. We didn't know we were ever coming back.
Right.
And so we started new businesses. She's doing, her own business. I'm doing a bunch of stuff in fitness still. I'm consulting for fitness manufacturers. I'm training trainers, and then this adoption thing happens and it forces us back. So we drop everything out of necessity, move back to the States, and now we're like, okay, what do we do? Yes, I have a remote agreement with a company that I'm working with, but my other business has dropped. Her other business has dropped. We can't live in LA sustained on this income. So what are we going to do? So we got in the car. We had 2 kids at that point because our first biological daughter was born in China.
Mm-hmm.
She's 1 year old. Then we have our adopted son and two dogs, 2 whippets that we brought from China. Jumped in the car and just started driving
Traveling
east.
banjo.
Yeah.
And so we thought we were heading to Nashville. Our plans there fell through. We ended up in Indiana, southern Indiana, in the middle of what we would call in the middle of nowhere. And
We have friends there.
yeah,
Really
we were
good
just
friends.
visiting friends. And everywhere we drive, she's like on realtor.com, what's for sale out here? Can we
So I was just
afford it?
thinking about a way to make it possible that we could afford a down payment so that we could our family move in, and then probably set it back up and try to do rentals again, whether it be short term or midterm. But I was just like, this is the only way that I can see now forward for our family to like not trade time for money, to make enough money that we could live and do the things that we want to do. Yeah. So, I mean, I was looking everywhere along the way, Colorado, like all the people we stopped and visited. And it was like, these are nice, but these homes are like $400K or $300K. And dang, we'd need this much down.
Yeah.
Then we get to this place in Indiana and I'm like, whew, these are like $100,000 for these homes, 110, 120. And these are like really nice. Like, I think they would really do well on Airbnb. So I dragged him to look at like 3 houses.
Yeah. I'm like,
he's like, we're not buying a house in Indiana.
Please. And until you find the place, then let me know. But
Yeah.
I'm not shopping this stuff out. Please. We would go, we'd have it bookmarked for like 3 months in advance. We'd drive up and there's like power lines right behind the house. I'm like, wow. Why?
Yeah.
So finally she found this place and she's like, I think you'll really like it. Just come check it out. I'm like, all right, let's go check it out. Drive out there. It's vacant. I'm walking around. There's a little lake in the backyard. I'm peeking in. I'm like, you know what? This place is actually pretty dope. I actually like it. Let's do it. And so it was already contingent and they were asking 120. And so we're like, let's just at least put in an offer. So we put an offer for 112 and they accepted it. And then we got an inspection. Inspection came back, said, you know, the roof is not in the best condition. So we negotiated down and we ended up buying for 96.5. It was sweet.
Renovated it ourselves and did all that. We STR'd it for a long time. But then at some point in the last few years, I was like, heck, I'm just going to try to go insurance hard on this one. And so like it's been insurance for a long time. And we have somebody in there paying $6,800 a month.
We have
On a house you bought for $100,000.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a 15-year note at $1,200 a month right now.
So
So
we
insurance
owe
is
like
just
30
paying
grand
that
or
much.
something.
Insurance is paying that. Now, that's in a more rural town. So that's not the optimal IMTR house. But we have contacts, we have favor, and so we happen to get insurance placements pretty regularly. But
Right.
when it's not, it's a really high performing STR.
Right. Yeah. As an STR, it would be bad. Insurance is the only thing it would like really do good at.
Yeah. STR, it's not that STR, again, you can do it. And if we STR that house, obviously the margins are, our expenses are so low. So we can
Yeah.
make money on it.
Right.
The problem is every turnover, you're paying a cleaner.
Yep.
And then the people in there are not homeowners.
Yeah,
they're
they're
doing whatever
partying, they're having fun.
breaking glasses or the
Yeah.
blender's broken. You're finding all sorts of stuff. So the cost to run it is so much higher than an MTR. So
Right.
of course we prefer MTR.
The
Yep.
people that have been in there now have been in there for like 8 months. It's like I literally will hear from them like once a month. Hey, you got our extension, right? I'm like, yep, got it.
Like what's their deal? Like why are they there so long?
So yeah, I was gonna say I probably should tell people like what insurance, like because some people don't even understand the whole insurance.
Yeah, explain
thing.
why they reach out to you, and we'll get into how you even find the insurance companies and all that. But like,
Sure.
why are they reaching out to you? What is usually the situation? We talked about the gas leak. Like, how's this all even play out?
So like say your house had like you guys go on vacation, you come home and there was like a slow drip in your toilet or something like that. Or like happens all the time like with
Kitchen.
water heaters or like kitchen, the dishwasher was leaking, they didn't know it. They come home after being gone for like 3 or 4 days and there's mildewy water that's been sitting like a couple inches of water. So now they have to like rip out all the floors. They have to come up on the drywall. Sometimes they have to replace electrical, blah, 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 whatever.
So they call their insurance company and they're like, this is what happened. What do we do? And there's a portion of their policy, the ALE portion, there's other terms for it as well, that covers their additional living expenses. And part of that is relocating them to a place where they can live while the repairs are being done. So that's the portion of their policy. That's the budget that goes toward us.
Yeah.
What we do.
So the additional living expense, essentially, it's like anything that makes their life different from how they are living right now in their house. Like right now, you in your house can make dinner for yourself and you can like let your dog in the backyard and you can do your own laundry. But if you were in, say, a hotel, you could then expense every meal. You could expense dry cleaning and pressing. You could expense a dog walker and all these things because that's, you wouldn't normally have to incur these fees, but you are now because you're at a hotel.
Yeah.
So they are highly incentivized to put these families in as close as possible to something that they came from. So we call it in the policy, we call it like for like. If you came from a 4-bed, 3-bath with, a big backyard, that's what they're trying to find you. So that's why it's kind of like you want to find the average owned home in a suburb or community. So that's kind of the bread and butter insurance.
Okay, so basically anything that displaces you, they're going to cover.
Right.
Yep.
And the most common things are a flood, a fire.
Redoing a kitchen. And then like, for example, we've had people in for 13 months that thought they were going to be in for 4 months because they rip up the floor and then they like oh, we have to only replace the kitchen floor, but that flooring is no longer in stock. So now we have to do the entire house, change the floor. And then it's like during 2021 and all that's madness. Everything was back ordered. Everything was like stuck on the docks. So we had people in our houses for 3-4 months and they're like, yeah, we'll let you know when they start the work on our house. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
If you remember back to the Snowmageddon that happened in Dallas, Fort Worth, or in North Texas.
Vegas doesn't know about
We
that.
don't even know about it. But
Texas news.
I can follow. I'm going to guess there was snow.
Oh, there was a lot of snow, a lot more than planned.
Okay.
And so
People lost power.
Tons of people lost power,
Got it.
like tens of thousands of people, maybe more. And so when that happens, pipes freeze. And so there was a ton of damage, ton of leaks once everything thawed. And that was an overwhelming time. That's where just the demand was so much higher than the supply, not just for homes, yes, but also for contractors.
Yeah.
So contractors had a 6-month wait. So we had people in our homes at that point for several months before even starting the work.
Yeah. I mean, like right now they got the hurricanes going on and everything
Yeah.
while we're filming this. It's like that's been happening the last couple of years in Florida and the Southeast. It's like
I know.
they got to be like having so many conversations trying to find homes for all these people.
Yeah, they for sure
Yeah.
are. I
We-
get emails on that all the time.
We heard that they're looking like within a 3-hour radius
That's
for
crazy.
those people.
Yeah. Like how do they, well, yeah, I guess the local
Work wouldn't look the
businesses
same
aren't
after
even,
that. Yeah.
a lot of those local businesses probably aren't even trying to operate.
No, they're not. As a matter of fact, we have a contact. We work with this organization I told you about, Light a Candle.
Yeah.
And they reached out to us to say, hey, these are the needs right now in North Carolina. They connected us with a contact out there. And so he's going through the process right now, telling me what's going on. There's like, it's devastating out there. They're still finding bodies, even up in trees, and still finding survivors like buried. And they said, step one is just getting people safe. There's no cell service out there.
Yeah.
Some people don't even know where are the supplies because they have no way to reach people.
Wow.
But then they said step two is rebuilding the local businesses
Right.
so that there can be commerce there and people can get supplies.
Right.
But they're not even at that point right now.
That's crazy. Yeah, I heard it's the like deadliest one like ever.
And there's another one right now heading for Florida. Did you see that?
No.
It was going to be category 3 and they just upped it to category 5.
Whoa.
Yeah. So they're like in the next 3 days, Florida's pretty much evacuating. It's bizarre. It's crazy.
I told, different subject, but people ask me, well, I got a lot of friends, right, who leave California. They're like, okay, where should I move? They're like, I'm thinking Florida, Texas, or Vegas. Those are the 3 because they have no taxes.
Yep.
And then, a lot of them do go to Florida because they like the beach and the coast and all that. And I'm like, dude, I don't like all the
say
natural
the
disasters
same
out there.
thing.
Like,
Wow.
even Texas has some disasters close to the, like Houston, got destroyed a while back.
Yeah.
I'm like, Vegas, we have no disasters. We're surrounded by mountains.
Just a
There
bunch
ain't
of
no
heat.
ocean. Like, we're good.
Yep.
Yeah. I can deal with a sunburn.
I do have people call like to join like vetted homes and they're like, so should I pick up homes in Florida? And I'm like, well, you can't really just pick up a home in an area that's constantly getting hit and expect that yours is not going to get hit, right? You're not just like, this one's an insurance rental, so we got to protect it.
Yeah. You
So-
yourself will be the one needing a rental.
And not only that, but sometimes these national disasters are not as like protected by insurance as you would think, which
I
is
was
really
talking
sad.
yeah, it's super sad. I was talking to one of my friends who's actually been on this podcast, and he goes, Ryan, dude, like, I need some help. I need your advice on what I should do. And I go, okay, so tell me about it. And he's like, I got a property and it's dead. Like, we might need to just rebuild the whole house. He's in Florida. And he's like, we got prime grade A land. My mortgage was like $500,000. And he's like, they're only going to give us like $250,000. And he's like, because they're saying the land is worth $250,000, and the cost to build is going to be $250,000. That's what they say. And so all that. He's like, but I still have to keep paying my mortgage while I'm like building.
Yeah.
And
Insane.
I'm like, so basically, you're going to have like 2 mortgages for the next 2 years while you build this, if you choose to build this property, right? Now, if you don't choose to build it, you're kind of screwed because nobody's buying your land right now.
Right.
Ain't nobody like want to live in that area
Right now.
Like, and there's going to be so many properties for sale up there because they're just tired of it.
Yep.
He's like, because he's been hit twice in the last 18 months from the different hurricanes. He's like, what do you think I should do? And I'm like, dude, that's crazy. Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, you know, if your house gets totally destroyed, in my mind, insurance should just pay off the mortgage and like, be done with it.
Right.
But I understand their point of view of like, well, yeah, we can rebuild and the land has value and whatever. But it's like, dang, that's a tough situation.
It's tough.
Whenever it's an act of God like that, it gets a little tricky and it's a little different.
Yeah.
If your home was like burned in a fire, for example, or something like that, like electrical fire and burn, then that's much more straightforward. They will pay you the full value to either buy a new home or they will, you know, pay to rebuild the whole thing. And
yeah, you could choose. You kind of have options.
yeah.
So before that hurricane comes, just get in
Light
that
a
breaker
match.
box.
Terrible.
Just playing.
Yeah. So let's just kind of talk about like where you guys are at now. So you guys have, how many of these insurance properties do you guys have?
So we run between 18 to 20 right now.
How does it fluctuate?
We just dropped off 3 properties, for example, that were low performers.
Okay, got it.
We did some experimenting this year. We picked up like an arbitrage in downtown Orlando,
Okay.
downtown Cleveland.
Yep.
And we then realized downtown is not a great place to IMTR, which makes sense because that's not where people buy homes. Like
It's not where people,
homeowners,
like,
it's where
live.
renters live.
It's not. Yeah, it's not where owners
So,
live.
yeah, even though they were in neighborhoods and stuff, but they were still, those neighborhoods are renters' neighborhoods and stuff. So,
Yeah.
So how many do you guys arbitrage versus own?
So if we're looking at 19 or 20,
we have 19 right now, and we own 5.
Okay.
So,
So the rest are arbitrage
14, yeah.
and they're all like across the country.
yeah.
Why not just like buckle in on one spot?
Well, we do. We have the majority of our. We have, I'll say, half of our properties in Dallas Fort Worth.
Okay. That's
then-
where you guys live.
That's where we live currently.
Yep.
We have another handful in Southern California, which is where we're from.
Got it.
And then we want to work where we want to be. So we're just choosing locations that we want to be at.
We're a road tripping family, so
Okay.
we pile our 4 kids and our dog in the car, and we travel like half the year.
Yeah. I mean, we just got back from 6 months.
6 weeks.
Sorry, 6 weeks doing a home exchange in France.
Oh, wow.
And I mean,
fun.
that's why we do what we do, you know, so we can throw the family wherever, into a car, into a plane, and just go wherever God calls, wherever we feel called,
Yeah.
you know, whatever we want to do. One of our highest family values is freedom. And so we're not doing this to simply be financially free for the sake of being financially free.
Right.
We want to be financially free and time free
Yeah.
so that we can do whatever we're called to do.
Because like
it's
at
about
some point
stewardship.
we were adding another property, like low and slow. And then we were like, okay, we need to get free from this. So then it was like, we need to hire somebody to do all the management work. So the next step for us was like, instead of getting more properties, let's find somebody who can take this off of our plate.
Yeah.
Freed up so much of our time, like tremendously. She's amazing.
And you take a hit on your margin a little bit, but
Yeah.
your time is
So
freed up.
worth it.
And now all of a
So-
sudden, you know, we're doing 50,000 miles a year in road tripping and, you know, traveling. We did a missional trip as a family to India last
was so
year.
fun.
I mean, we couldn't do that before self-managing.
Oh no.
No,
I would have
no
been on
chance.
my like phone and all that. But then after that it was like, okay, now we still want to build, we still want to grow, and we hired. So then it was like, I think that was our path towards ownership. We were like, let's just keep what we have, like these 19, and just start to buy them one by one or swap out an arbitrage at the end of the year and just buy one in the neighborhood if the owner doesn't want to sell.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the path that we are on now.
Yeah.
Until we get around all you guys like wealthy investors and all your people, and they're like, scale this thing, 10 million,
scale,
but we'll
scale.
invest in you, and
Yeah.
blah, blah. And it's crazy.
And we're open to that. You know, it's not like we don't want to scale because we've been told for, I'd say, the last 6 months, anytime we're around anyone who's successful, they're like, you got
guys
to
are
scale.
so
You got to
dumb
scale.
to even share this with anybody. You guys should just be scaling this.
But the
Don't
reality
share
is
this.
we won't scale unless we can scale and maintain our freedom.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to unlock right now.
Right. Yeah. And I think that what you guys are doing is, you know, for you guys, right? This insurance business is your active income. So I always tell people, it's like, people are like, oh, I want passive income and everything? Well, it first started with you being active in the business and building it out, and now it produces all this cash flow.
Yep.
You know, like what's the average cash flow on a unit for you guys now?
Yeah. So average net cash flow is
Yeah.
going to be around, even with management costs and stuff, around, let's say 2,000 to 3,000 per property.
That's
per
crazy.
month. Yeah,
And like,
including vacancies.
what's the typical rent on these properties?
That'll range from
Lowest is 6,800. Highest is like 15,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So wait, 15,000's the
Incoming
insurance.
rents.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say is
month.
your average rent that
Our
you
average
pay?
spend?
Well, mortgage or rent if you're arbitraging
well,
it.
I can tell you this.
3,200, something like that.
Yeah, last year we did 1.3.
Okay.
That was gross, and our rents were about 628. So less than
Rents
half.
and mortgages.
Rents and mortgages.
He looked up these numbers because he knew you'd ask.
There we go. Well, I mean, like that's 2x, right? It's like, dude, you know, you rent it for $3,000, you can, you know, or you lease it for $3,000 and you rent it for $6,000. Like you'll make a lot of money,
Right?
even with hiring a property manager. And I think the best part is you guys don't have cleaners and stuff the way that short term does.
Yeah,
Because that eats up so much of your revenue.
it does, and you know,
And repairs. Your repairs are
And
way
these are
higher.
homeowners
Repairs.
in like really nice neighborhoods. So honestly, a lot of them are like, is it cool if we bring our cleaner from our own house to come clean weekly for us? I'm like, whatever you want. Mi casa,
Yeah, I
su
mean,
casa.
especially, I mean, they really are long-term renters.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just treating it like their own and all
and they're
that
not going to
stuff.
squat because they want to get back to their own
They
house.
decorate for
you know?
Halloween. They decorate for Christmas. Like,
Yeah.
And
It's-
one of the things that people don't think about is on the STR, let's say we have a short-term renter in there, they ruin towels, right?
Right.
So we're going in the very next turnover, we got to replace all the towels.
Yeah.
Well,
I probably replace them
MTR,
10 times a year when
Yeah.
we were doing short term.
we have someone in there for IMTR, they ruin the towels. They're living with those towels until they move out.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, we're ultimately still going to replace them, but not at nearly the frequency.
We also keep like a 5-star standard. There's a lot of like Airbnbers that don't replace it, but we keep everything super high standard. Like our goal is for every family that moves in to say like, this is the best part of what has happened to us. Like, wow, we did not expect to have such a great time. We've had people be like lose $1 million house in a fire, move into our, 1,800 square foot house and be like, after these 6 months here, we have never been closer as a family. We will remember this time. Like, we want to come stay here once a year because it did so much for our family. And I'm like, there you go.
And
We pray over the houses.
We
And
do.
we really design the houses like we don't put TVs in every single room like most people do.
Yeah.
So we're like, no, if you guys want to watch TV, watch it together outside. In the
You guys
main
are forcing family values on them.
we do not want you guys all separate in your rooms. And if you want to do that, bring in your own dang TV, okay?
That's funny. The
Some
kids
people
are
do.
like, who is this family that made this TV this way? And you guys are like, we're the road tripping family. We go 50. Do you guys bring like an RV or what? What do you guys
now
do?
we have a 7-seater. We got this like
You got a Sprinter van or what?
we have an
SQ7.
Audi
Oh, an
SQ7.
SQ7? Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's tuned like it's a race car. Like we
Yeah.
take out the
Date
craziest
nights,
cars.
we go to the track and then like,
Yeah, we had this viral video on our IG racing against some Dodge it was our anniversary.
Yeah.
We pull up. We still got the baby seats in the back,
so he rolls down the windows.
Yeah.
and we're on the strip, the drag strip, and just like
Yeah.
killing people in our family 7-seater.
That's
SUV.
funny.
But we do that. But we love, and I think because of the culture and stuff, we always want to see like what other Airbnbs are doing and what other. So we like to stay in houses. Like,
You go stay for market research.
yeah, it is. It's a write off.
Yeah.
Everywhere we go.
Yeah. You guys are like, all right, let's see what they're doing over here. Okay. I didn't realize they're getting this much right now to rent over
Yes.
here.
Right.
It is very interesting when you try, and then you see some areas of the country like it's not expensive to buy, but yet the rents are really high, and you're like,
Yep.
this is a kind of a gold mine over here.
Yeah.
So
So that's why you guys are testing out other markets and
Yeah.
just seeing what's up.
And ultimately, again, we want to have houses ourselves where we want to go.
Right.
And that helps on the, obviously we're able to expense every time we go over there. But beyond that, we just want to be there. So
like
why
his
not
mom
have a
lives
place
in
there?
like Tennessee, so of course we want to have a property over there so the kids can like see the grandparents all the time. And we have friends in northern Indiana, southern Indiana. Like of course we have to have places over there, just so we can map out. Like okay, this family's been in there for 9 months. We know for sure. Finally, they're moving out December 1st. Let's go up as a family. We'll go up. We'll check out the property. We'll see if we need to do anything, replace anything, and we'll have a like 3-week little
You know what I never thought
Yeah.
about? Like all my friends who do things like that, you know, they spend 6 months a year in like their non-tax state. So it's like they'll spend 6 months in a day in Texas or Vegas or whatever. And then they go live the other time in Cali or whatever the case is. But you just got me thinking about how people get taxed to like live so infrequently everywhere. I don't know that I've ever had anyone on that like lives a month here, a month here, a month here, a month here.
It's very hard to track us.
Yeah.
I have a Texas license and he has a California. We run Indiana plates. We've got we've got so much going on. Whenever I get pulled over, I'm like, I mean, I'm from Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get pulled over. I'm California.
Yeah. Like I have no idea how they even tax that. I'm going to ask somebody because I've never even thought about it. But okay. So obviously insurance pays a lot and you're serving a big need. How do you get all the tenants?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's funny because this morning, our partners passed us a video from another big guy in the MTR business, Jesse Vasquez. He's done a lot of good stuff for the MTR kind of market. He does a lot of education, but kind of the primary topic of his video this morning was like, it's stupid to focus on insurance only with MTRs.
Okay.
And so I watched it and I'm like, okay, it sounds good, except for we've been doing it for, 9 years now. And so it's actually not stupid because we're living a phenomenal life.
Yeah.
We're like honorary billionaires, we call ourselves, because
Honorary millionaires.
that's the lifestyle we live. But, and so it really comes down to the details. Where is your home? And why are you selecting this home for IMTR? Does it make sense? Because you can't just pull any
home from
out of
your
the bag
portfolio for sure
and expect it to be to do well the same as it would as an STR. You can't just pull an STR off the market and say we're going to make this an MTR now, an IMTR, and it's going to do well. It doesn't work that way. So yes, we have connections. Obviously, over the years, we've worked with all these companies, insurance companies direct, and also third-party placement companies. And so every week we shoot out our homes to those companies, and so that they know what's available in the areas
a lot
that
of
they're
them have
searching for.
directories too, like behind the scenes within their own organizations. So making sure to be in those directories, and then having all the settings on every other platform you're listed, having all the settings tweaked to where you would be found from an insurance, family or placement agency, right? Like I was saying at the beginning, I would get somebody to say, "Hey, could you take a 4-month booking?" But I'm like, I couldn't. And nowadays you wouldn't even get the question because they're going to type in on the, they're going to go to Airbnb like January 1st to October, whatever. And you're not going to pull up because you don't have availability for that whole time.
Because you get a couple of sporadic bookings.
Right.
So that was kind of the impetus for vetted homes. It's like, really, it's a niche and you kind of have to know from step one, like where to get the house and like what kind of house to get and how to set up the house. And then where to list your house, how to make sure it's listed properly to be found. So, but once you do all that, it's worked out pretty good.
So how much of your traffic would you say comes from Airbnb versus like direct from insurance or these third-party companies that the insurance companies hire?
Interestingly, I would say last year it went up. I think we were about 40% of our income was through Airbnb for insurances though. Like they were still booking either I believe it's HomeLink that works with Airbnb. They do like the Airbnb for Work program, so they're less fees or whatever. Or people that find us and say, "Hey, my insurance company's paying for this, but I'm going to book it and they'll just reimburse me."
Right.
And that's kind of becoming a little more popular.
It's less
giving
work for the
family
insurance company.
Yeah,
It is,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, insurance companies rarely do the placements themselves. They farm it all out.
Yeah.
And if you have a
In this day
great
and
house
age.
and you have 5-star reviews, it's better for us too, because then it's like
Right.
we're competing with the normal market as opposed to just being behind the scenes and just going off an address and number of miles from their house. Because people would see our house, and even if it's a little further than one in their neighborhood, they might be willing to drive the 10 minutes because it's way nicer.
And
Yeah.
they can see the reviews, we
So-
maintain 5-star properties.
What would you say, like, how many places would your property be listed? Because you said they're like in, these different directories.
Probably about 25.
That's what it takes to really, because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but how often does it get booked? But if you're in
Yeah.
25 places,
Yeah.
then your vacancy shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah. Going back to your Airbnb question, I told you we did 1.3 last year.
Yeah.
Gross. So 500 of that was on Airbnb.
Yeah. Okay. So about
Okay. Yeah.
35%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So with that, what about, like, I guess, what makes it a desirable property for an insurance company then? Because you're like, it really depends on where it is, what it's got, and all these things.
All the insurance company cares about is like how far you are from the insured's house and that you meet the criteria for, like, if they had a 3-bedroom, they need a 3-bedroom. You know, if they had a 4-bedroom. So what's generally not great is a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom even.
That makes sense.
Because
Usually
what are you
families.
competing with? Home suites and all these other things. Like,
Yeah.
So do you want, like, to get free dinner every night and get someone to clean your room every day? If I was just one person, I would stay in a hotel. I don't care.
Yeah.
But it's really catering to the average family, which is like 2 adults, 2 or 3 kids, a dog or 2,
Yeah.
and really like being set up for that. And for like looking through photos and stuff, it's less about like, ooh, a fire pit in the backyard and a pickleball, you know, which is really cool for STR, but it's more about like, do you have closet space, and is there a garage that we can park our car in, and you know, things like that. So
It's
more
really
practical.
I mean, to
You're
think
treating
about
it just like
an
buying a
LTR.
house.
I know,
Yes.
it's like buying a house.
Like buying a house, exactly.
I know.
So when this person who's being displaced walks through your front door, are they saying, yeah, I want to stay here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to be here for the next few months, so this is where I want to be.
Right.
And
makes
it's
sense.
always longer than they think.
Yeah, like what's your average stay?
I'd say it ranges between probably 3 to 5 months.
Got it.
A 6-month stay is not uncommon.
What do you think your vacancy rate is?
That's interesting. We don't actually track vacancy because at the end of the day,
I mean, I know
With our
you're,
margins.
you're just looking at the net
Yeah.
revenue of it all. I'm just
Yeah.
curious, like, because with any MTR, you're going to have just chunks where it's not rented.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not like STR where you can have less vacancy because you can just fill like every
Right.
day.
Well, and it depends on how scrappy you are, right? Because like in some of our markets, like Fort Worth, 30-day minimum, that's just is what it is. But
Right.
in some of our markets, we can do less than 30 days. So if I get somebody who wants to move in like in 2 weeks, then I'll be like, maybe I'll just STR it for the next 2 weeks. I'll just lower minimum nights, get a few bookings in the next 2 weeks, and then we'll take the long booking. And, you know,
Yeah, I guess so. If you already
do that.
have, well, actually, wouldn't most of these insurance companies be booking like all the time?
Usually.
yes,
Like-
most of the time, like 80% of the time, yes. 20% of the time, it's like, we're going to start demo next week, or they couldn't start demo for like 3 weeks. So that's when they're going to be starting their time. Because they know they have a
Yeah,
limited
because they're
budget.
not booking months out.
Right.
No.
Oh, never.
It's always just instant for the most
yes.
part.
And we've had it happen so many times where it was like so emergent that we were like, go in right now. We'll figure out paperwork later. We got paid, a few days later because we were like still working out the contract and signing things. But we're like, just go sleep there. You guys need it. That was Snowmageddon. Like they were just like, I can't.
Do you
stay at
guys
my
do you
house.
guys ever get nervous with it versus like let's just say an LTR and STR, with an STR people do book out months out, right?
Yeah.
And then with a long term obviously they're just always there. Whereas this is like you're just kind of always waiting for it to get booked.
I know that's one of the things that I like teach on in Vetted Homes is like you have to shift your mentality because most people have this mentality of like vacancy.
Yeah.
Like, and you have to just know, like, it's like abundance mentality.
You gotta have
to just
faith
know.
that it's gonna get rented.
It's gonna
Yeah.
get rented. It's gonna be so good and so
And then you'll get a
long,
5-month deal and you're
Yes.
like, oh man, I was sweating for a couple of weeks.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
but most people just cannot tolerate it. It takes a special person to like leave your calendar open for the whole year.
That's what I'm saying.
And say no to bookings. Like
But
people
that-
are asking. I'll
Yeah,
take it
because
for
they
a
want
month.
a short term.
Yeah, or even like a month. People ask me right now, like, yeah, I'm going to come to town for Christmas, and see my family. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. We don't take bookings that far out into the future.
Yeah.
And they're like, bro,
So what-
I'm giving you 10 grand. You're going to take it. No, but if we're available at that time, please
will.
reach out. We'll love to take it.
Yeah. So what is the minimum you would book out or the
2
maximum,
weeks.
I should say?
2-3 weeks max. Yeah.
Wow. Because it makes sense, right? Yeah, you could lock in a month, but you're missing out on somebody who's going to rent it for 5 months.
Exactly. Yeah.
So basically, once you get somebody, it's like, all right, cool, on to the next with the rest of the portfolio because they're going to be there kind of like a long-term person for
Oh, yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah. I do just like cross it off my thing that I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
yay, it's booked. I'm done with that one.
Got it. Is there anything else? I mean, it all seems pretty self-explanatory. Is there anything else that like people just don't really understand about insurance and monthly?
That's a good question.
I think people don't really grasp the benefits of it in terms of the people that you're working with are homeowners.
Yeah, they're the
And
best tenants ever.
They're the best tenants you can have.
Yeah.
I mean, they're at least fairly responsible because they had homeowners insurance in place.
They paid for you.
Yeah.
And they're there because they have to be there.
They can't wreck it because they're going to be there for weeks and months.
Right. We take a deposit.
Yep.
So there's some guard there. We have specialized insurance in case something major goes wrong,
Yep.
caused by their dog or whatever it is. It's just like, it's the best of the best. It's a win-win-win. Like there's no real, I mean,
Because the
people
money's
say
not
this,
coming
but
out of their pocket.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so they're super happy.
people say like,
So
oh, there's no
grateful.
downside, but like about whatever their business is, but truly there's not really a downside except for having the faith during vacancies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
You know, but if you've got a home in the right place, it's a numbers game. I mean,
Yeah. It'll get rented.
yeah.
Yeah.
What about these other types of midterm rentals, like corporate rentals or like these traveling nurses and
Yeah.
things like that? Do you guys do that?
We have never done a traveling nurse. Like we've never seen the lucrativeness of that.
No, the margins are smaller and we've just put our efforts towards insurance. You know,
We've
IMTR is like golden for us. We've had people on
we've
corporate
done
placements.
a few times. Yeah.
We've just never specialized there. The fact is, like the other MTRs, I think they're fantastic. I think if someone wants to do those, I think there's money there. But we haven't found the same amount of money. We haven't found the same margins in those other MTRs as we have in IMTR.
Do you see insurance changing that at all, or is it's just been pretty steady for the last 9 years?
It's been steady, but you've seen like the third-party placement companies gobbling each other up. So you know there's moves being made.
Yeah.
And so like any wise business person has got to think like, okay, there's something that's going to happen soon. At some point, something's going to change. So we're not expecting like these margins to last forever. We expect that it's going to get more crowded as more people learn about it. I mean, we're teaching it now. So, you know,
Yeah.
we expect that it's going to get more crowded and the margins are going to shrink. And we do expect that, like you look at California and they're talking about insurance rates climbing through the roof,
Yeah.
you know, and you've got many of the major insurance carriers leaving California because it's not great for them to be there anymore business wise.
Right.
We've had at least 5 major companies in this last year leave California.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think there inevitably is going to be change.
But
Yeah.
with government, with insurance, there's always just such a gross misuse of money.
Yeah.
There's just, so it's like, it's nice to be on the receiving end of it, honestly.
Yeah.
They just are
Yeah. If you guys are going to
constantly-
misuse the money, just give it to me.
Exactly.
That's better.
Because we actually invest in the kingdom and we actually do good things with it, and we're raising 4 kids. And you know what I mean? It's like, I trust myself with this money more than I trust
For sure.
these big insurance companies. So
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with their premiums and all these things going crazy.
yeah, and honestly, it's half the time when they book with us, and it'll be like $9,800 a month for a rental or whatever. They're like, "Oh, this is great. This is going to save us a lot of money because we've been spending for 3 rooms at this hotel $250 a night. Plus,
Yeah.
we've been paying for all their meals. Plus, and I'm like, dude, you've been spending like $1,000 a night on these people.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course you're stoked to get my house.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's stoked at that point. So with that being said, you guys said you're coaching people now. How long have you guys been doing that? How's it been going?
Yeah, so we've been in that about 4 months now.
Okay.
And
Very fresh.
That started because, so the first arbitrage house we did was in California. And we did that with friends of ours.
Right.
We were staying in our condo and we're like, we got to get out of here because not only are we paying the mortgage here, but we're losing out on income. So this is just a double whammy. And so they reached out to us and they said, hey, we heard that you might want to move into some place and we want to move out of our place. Would you guys be interested in living in our house? And so we checked it out and we're like, absolutely, let's do it.
100%.
We stayed there for, I don't know, a year and a half, something like that. And then we decided we're going to Texas. We moved to Texas in January 2020.
But we said to them, we know we're in the middle of a lease. We're definitely not going to break it on you. But would it be okay with you guys if we were to sublease this place, like rent it, re-rent it out?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were like, to who and what? And then we told them the insurance thing, and we're going to try to focus on midterm. And they were like, sure, let's go for it. So we paid them a little bit more. It was like went from $2,500 to $3,500 just to bless them.
Yep.
And then we listed it, and I swear before we even left town, boom, that thing was booked.
I think it was 14.5 the first.
Through VRBO. It was like over $13,000 got
Per
booked.
month.
Per month.
That's
on this
crazy.
house. And it just blew my mind. It was an insurance company. It was one of those deals where like he booked it and insurance paid him back.
Right.
So immediately I'm like, okay, they just paid over 13. I'm only getting like 11 or something like that. So I was like, hey, if you need to extend, as you often do, would love to work direct with you. You know, have your insurance company call. He's like, that would be great because I don't want to be running up these credit card bills. So then we went direct. He stayed for like 5 months at that rate.
You know what I was just thinking?
Real estate investors, I found a brand new way to create cash flow that's better than anything else I've ever done. It's better than rental properties, Airbnb, my flipping business, multifamily. It's the best thing we've done yet. It is building an automated wholesale business. Now you might be saying, Ryan, how do you build an automated wholesale business? Well, what if you had the same exact leads that I get every single month? What if you had a sales script that was so easy to close deals over the phone that you could do it all across the country? And what if you could sell your deals directly on the MLS without a real estate license and without having to actually own the property and getting top dollar? Well, we do that with this new method. And I made an 11-minute video where I go over how it all works, how you can start doing it today. So if you want to go see that video, go to wealthyinvestor.com, go click the case study and see what I'm talking about.
What happens? Are you guys advertising your price as insurance prices?
No.
So like you were advertising it at 13K and he just booked it?
Correct.
Got it. But
It's
to me, that
basically
seems
like
higher.
a short term. It's like a short term rental. Like let's say you were gonna like have one in Vegas, right? Like a short term rental.
Right.
And it's like having it at like $400 a night and no discounts, no monthly discount on. You know, like STR owners that are listening will know this. They'll be like, oh, sometimes like if you have no discount on, people will just write you and say, hey, I noticed you don't have a monthly discount. What if I stay for a month? What kind of discount can I give? And Airbnb auto recommends that you do like 50% or something like that. And I just was like, ignore, nope, 0% discount. And they never even asked. They just booked straight away.
So you just have it as a monthly rental at what price you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like an insurance price. It's just the price.
It's the price.
Got it. Okay. So I guess my question then is like, is there certain markets that are better than others that you're aware of?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We'll know more and more as we move into more markets because we're not in that many markets. But
yeah, I mean, as you get more students, you'll hear
For
about
sure,
success in
suburbs,
different
like-
markets.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, our students so far, like all the ones that have homes in suburbs are getting booked.
Yeah. It's just normal family stuff. They want to probably be close to where they live.
That's right.
And it's always the people that are like, I have one, but it's in this suburb. I don't know if there's nothing there. There's no baseball stadiums. I'm like, that's going to be where this is good.
Yeah.
You know, you
it's
don't
not an
wanna
STR where they want to be near the action.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So I know we were talking about this earlier. You know, a big part of this for you is obviously freedom. That's a family value for you guys. Time freedom, you know, freedom of, you know, financial freedom.
Yeah.
I always say too, the third freedom that people don't think about, but it's in America, is the freedom of speech. And so
Yeah.
like for me, having my own business and my own platform, I just say whatever I want. And so I get to talk about faith and all this other stuff that maybe some people can't talk about because they got an employer or whatever.
So true.
Right? So with you guys, I know a lot of it is about faith and the kingdom and everything else. And so like, I guess what motivates you guys for this lifestyle? And I mean, it just seems like you guys are living a very unique lifestyle. That's not, I haven't heard many people doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember years ago, people would ask me like, what do you want to do with your life? And I remember answering like, I want to be a self-funded missionary. You know, I want to be someone who can answer the call of God at any point and not have to wait on funds from somebody else.
Right.
And it's crazy because just stating that, it happened.
Yeah.
You know, we find ourselves today in that very situation. I said we did a missional family trip last year to India. I went to Egypt. The organization that we work with, they reached out to me and said, hey, we're putting together a team that's like, we want dependable people that if there's an immediate need,
We call
that
it
they can
Minutemen.
leave.
So like they call them and it's just like, we need you to leave within 48 hours or whatever.
And like, can we put you on the list? And I'm like, absolutely. That's what this is all about. So
because most people aren't free enough, like even, and that's why we homeschool our kids. Like, I mean, I think for us, it started mental. Like we had to know that first. I feel like that was like us as a couple before we even had kids. We were like, if we're going to have kids, here's how it would have to look. Like we're going to both be involved. We're going to both, because I was very much like, I don't mind if we don't have any kids. Like I'm really good. And I came from like, my parents are both entrepreneurs. Like I love, you know, business, and like I could travel and just stay at nice luxury places. But he's like, that's so boring. I can only stay in a luxury hotel for like 3 days before I'm just like, I roll, like get me to a mission field or something, you know? And so I'm like, okay, well, we can, you know.
I'm like, give me some purpose, something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So then talking about kids, and it was like, well, if you're going to be at some 9 to 5, like there's no way we're having kids because I'm not doing all that.
Right.
So we kind of came to a thing like, okay, then it's going to be remote work agreements or having our own business or using whatever tools we can, but it's going to be freedom.
And you know, it's really about boundaries and enforcing them. So I remember I used to work at In-N-Out Burger.
Okay.
I mean, I started working there when I was a teenager. I worked there for 8 years. I traveled with them.
I heard they pay
stores.
good with normal people.
Yeah.
Like,
and not only that, but they're a phenomenal company.
Yeah.
Really a phenomenally run company.
Yeah.
Character, everything. Their values are phenomenal. And I remember when I first got hired, I'm like, I'll do whatever you want, anything you want, but I'm not working Sundays. It's the one thing, like I got church and I want to be there every week at church.
Yeah.
And they said, okay. And they tested me a few times, put me on the schedule. And I just told them, I'm so sorry. I won't be in on Sunday because I can't work Sundays.
Yeah.
And after a while, they just knew, you know. And when we moved to China, it was the same thing. I wanted to establish an expectation. So when I got hired, I worked for a company called Cybex for a while, the equipment manufacturer, you know, in gyms. And I told them there was a lot of travel involved. And I told them, hey, just want to let you know up front, whenever I travel, I try to bring my wife along. I don't expect you to pay for anything for her, but I just want you to know that I'm going to try to bring her along wherever I go. And they're like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
But I was the only wife every single time.
Right.
Like nobody else does it. And then everybody would say to him like, this is so cool that you do this, man. Like I should really bring my wife on like one of the next trips. Like this is so cool. But nobody ever did.
Yeah.
And we talked to so many entrepreneurs that make like way more money than us. I mean, even this week. And they're like, Jason, I love the way you live, bro. Like I need to get free like that. Or how do you guys travel with your kids? I'm like, bro, you make $3 million a year. You could do it too. It's called, you have to prioritize, right? Like we wake up and every morning we read the Bible as a family. Like we're not on our phones. We're not on our stuff. It's like all of our kids know, meet on the couch because we're going to read the Bible together as a family.
Yeah.
We have brunch together. Like we have these non-negotiable things that are kind of.
Kids have chores, whether we're on the road or at home, like we have an infrastructure that travels with us, and that's what makes it livable, you know?
Right. Gives them routine.
But it's like, of course, like today, you know, we're here in Las Vegas and it's like super duper rare for us to be without our kids.
Yeah.
But it's like, there'll be those like 1 time or 2 times a year that we kind of
do your own
deviate from the plan or whatever.
Yeah.
But
well, it's good to get alone time with you guys too.
Yeah.
oh yeah, totally. This
It's
has been
great.
a fun weekend.
And we do on a daily basis, you know,
Truly.
before the kids are up and after
Yeah,
the kids go down, we spend intentional time together.
Oh yeah.
And it's great. I recommend it for everybody. But yeah, going back to your thing, like your question, that's kind of why we do vetted homes. That's why we launched it. So the friends that we first arbitraged from that house, they came, we taught them. They're the only ones that we taught how to do this thing. And they started doing well. And
Basically,
then,
we're just like, here's your house back, and here's what
already
we've
have the
been
contracts.
doing.
and here's a business
And they
for
were
you.
like,
Yeah.
So they did it. And then they started getting friends and other people asking, how do you do this? Can you teach me?
But
So
then
they started,
not only did they do it with their house, but then they arbitraged at more houses and
Yeah.
Yep.
they were doing started a business doing it.
So last year, Jason and Kelly came to us and they're like, there's way too many people tugging on us. We can't handle it. Would you guys
and
want
they're
to?
the sweetest people ever. Kelly will just spend half her day just like on the phone helping people. So we're like,
sweetest ever.
yes.
And so they're like, would you consider like doing maybe like a course with us so that we can release this widespread and handle all these people that are asking? And we're like, all right, let's do it. So that's why we launched Vetted Homes. It's really about helping people
get free.
Get free. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And one home can help someone get free. You
Yeah.
know, what 2 homes can allow you to quit your job.
Literally.
You know? And that's where freedom starts, you know, of course. Cash
And there's
flow
ways to do
allows
it
you
cheap, right? Like you could buy a house as an FHA, like, and move into it
Yep.
and furnish it. And then what'd you put down? Like hardly any money.
Yeah.
You could buy the furniture on Facebook Marketplace. Like you don't need to go crazy on this
Yep.
and spend like
I know all
tens of
about
thousands.
that. I used to just flip furniture for a living.
Exactly.
couches, right?
Couch
Yeah.
flipper.
Yeah.
I've sent that video to many broke friends. I'm like, no excuses. No
No
excuses.
excuses. Go
okay?
make it happen.
Go make it happen. So, but I mean, there's ways to do it. So every time people want to complain, but then they're like working 9 to 5 jobs to bring home $5K a month. I'm like, you could do that. It's hard.
That's
Like-
why I flipped couches. Like I was like, man, dude, like I could make $5,000 a month doing this really easily.
Yes.
And then to your guys' point, same thing here. It's like, dude, you get a couple of houses and you're there.
Yeah.
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 So how do you guys like envision all of this? You know, you were talking about you went to the workshop and you're like, everybody wants to scale. Like, are you guys motivated to scale? Are you content? Like, what's your plan?
We're motivated to scale. I don't think you can ever be content because as you teach, you know, contentment just leads to a
You're gonna
gradual.
fall off at some point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You got to
so
keep getting better.
We don't want to be content.
And you want to be someone who your kids are proud of, you know, like you don't, for me, I tell him like, I want to leave it all on the field. Like I want to feel like I gave it my all,
Right.
but that doesn't mean like to be a slave to work, of course. But
Right.
yeah, I don't want to feel like, man, we're so much, we're more capable than we're actually.
Yeah. End of the day, it's
So-
stewardship. It's about stewardship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are we doing with what we've been given?
Yeah.
And there's a balance to that. And it's an ever-changing balance. You're constantly triaging, you know, what's most important.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're interested in scaling, but not to the detriment of freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've explained, I don't know if I've ever shared this on a podcast. So I actually have a formula for this. So,
Come on.
you know, right? You're like, look, I'm down to scale as long as, you know, none of these get sacrificed in the process, right? So what we're really talking about here is having minimum standards in your life at which these are non-negotiable. So for you, you're like, I ain't working Sunday.
Yeah.
This is a non-negotiable, right? For me, it's the same thing. It's like my office is not open on the weekends. Like we don't work on the weekends. You know, I let somebody else use it last weekend, you know, because John Maxwell was here.
Yeah.
But, you know, my employees don't come in on the weekends. Like we just haven't had it this whole time building everything we built.
Wow.
And same thing. I leave the office at 5 because I want to be with my family and have dinner every night. And that's our minimum standard. Now, do I eat brunch with my family every day? No, I don't. Like, because that's just not our standard,
Yeah.
right? I come here 9 to 5. I do my thing Monday to Friday, and that's it. Yeah. So as far as like a minimum standard for my relationships, that's it. Then I have minimum standards for health. It's like, dude, I'm going to be in a certain shape, and that's my minimum standard. Now, there are times where I'm like more jacked than others, but then, you know, like I'll always fall to my minimum standard. Then financially, I have a minimum standard for like what our lifestyle is and how much we spend and everything else. And then lastly, I've got my minimum standards with faith. It's like, hey, every day I'm going to pray at this time. I'm going to read my Bible. You know, I'm going to do my small group. I'm going to, you know, we're going to church every Sunday. So I have these minimum standards in my life. So all of those never get touched. And let's just say that accounts for 50% of my capacity for life. Let's just say my mental energy, my creative energy, my physical energy, everything else. That means I have another 50% that I get to play with and adjust as needed. And so that part is what changes in my life as new opportunities and doors and just, you know, callings and things like go. So it's like, man, a couple of years ago, we were talking about before, I had this calling to just grow in faith. And so I just started to go super deep into faith and reading more books and talking to more people and all these things. Then, you know, the economy turned. And so I'm like, all right, well, I got to revamp these businesses. And so I spent way more time in business, like just building new products and revamping funnels, and way more time than I was spending before in business. Then there are times where like I've gotten super serious about health. And it's like, all right, I'm getting a 6-pack. Like I'm tired of being, you know, like I look good with clothes, but you know, there's no packs there. Okay. So like,
It's in the fridge.
yeah, they're in the fridge. Okay. We're going to Cancun later this year. Like, let's start to get a little bit in better shape. And so I'll like really dedicate and go hardcore on my macros and all those things. But then the other 10 months of the year, I'm like, I'm pretty good with how I look. Like, it's all good. So that's just kind of how I live my life and standards. And I have like highly encouraged people who are struggling with that, because here's the problem. People are so all or nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if I'm over here saying, hey, like this 50%'s never changing.
Yeah.
But then this other 50%, I'm okay adding more and subtracting and whatever.
So good.
But other people are like, oh, I need to grow my business 100%.
Right.
Yep.
Throw out. I don't have time for,
To the detriment of what?
Yeah, there's no time to go work out. I got to do my business. There's no time. Like I got to work late. There's no time for this. There's no time for that, because I'm 100% focused on business. And I'm like, you're 100% also an idiot. And but that's what we do. It's like, it's just human nature to be all in.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you think it's good advice. And it's really not.
It sounds really good. Like, I'm going all in on
Well,
it.
it sounds good until 10 years down the line. And you're like,
I've been all in this whole time.
Right.
It never changed.
And what happened to my kids? You know?
Yeah, they
I
grew
hardly
up.
know 'em.
Yeah.
And they don't know you.
And we saw it so often. I saw it in the fitness industry with, high level execs, like traveling the world, super uber successful.
Yeah.
But like, where's their families?
And what's
yeah.
funny is when you ask them, like, why are you doing all this? It's always for my kids. I want to leave them something someday. I want to leave.
They
I'm
can't
like,
even answer it. Well, that's why I had everyone at the mastermind do the 3-year vision,
Yeah.
because it's like, can you even answer why you're doing this?
Yeah.
Most people can't. And it's like, in fitness, it's like, you're not always in a deficit the whole time. You're not always like in a stage prep
Right.
24/7. You would die
Right.
if you were just always doing that. It's like, okay, cool. We got a show. The next 3 months, we're going hardcore.
Right.
And then the other 9 months, we're going back to minimum standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever you can sustain is your minimum standard.
Yeah.
And there's some people who need to definitely raise their standards.
Yes.
But
For sure.
the only way you raise it is by having at least whatever your minimum is right now. And then that other 50% I was talking about, that's where you start to go work on things. And then all of a sudden, now we have not just 20, we have 30 of these deals.
Yeah.
So now your minimum rose.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to work at it anymore. Like, it's just there.
Yeah.
And now you're like, all right, now, we're thinking about, do we want to grow the coaching business? Okay, like, we're not sacrificing all these things that we've built. That's great. But I do have extra time. What am I going to do with extra time, creativity, capacity? Do I want to go on mission trips? Do I want to build this business? Do I want to, like, whatever God's calling me to do at that moment?
Right.
Love that.
Word.
I don't even know what I'm going to call that, but it's a framework I've never.
It's something, though, for sure.
It is.
It's a book. I actually think that could be a whole book.
Yeah.
The bottom line is people don't protect what's most valuable.
No.
They see something. It's like that shiny object thing, and they focus there and they go all in. But that's not what's most
What
most
does
valuable.
Dan
most of the
Mueller
time.
always say? Like, don't make what's less important most important, or something like keep what's most important most important.
Well, you guys went to our church this Sunday.
Yeah.
So he was talking about that. I don't know if he shared it in your service. But he was talking about how, when kids, we got our kids and they have their genius, and, they go get an A in math and then they get a C in English. And what do? We hire an English tutor.
Yep.
So we put all this money and resource into training their weakness.
To make them average.
Yeah. Which they'll never be great,
Right.
And they're already naturally so gifted and excellent at math. And we do nothing to harness that.
Right.
And we're just always focused on the weakness. And it's like, the best people in the world are just super good at one thing.
Yep.
Right.
They ain't over here worried about their weakness.
Right.
Yep.
And it's like, man, I was like, okay. So
That's why it's so easy for us to stay focused on insurance, like midterm rental, because it's been the vehicle that got us out of debt, got us out of like a totally, different state. Like, we were totally underwater and everything. But also, like, it's just worked for us after all this time. So then when we hear all these other people, dude, they're making all this money wholesaling and flipping.
Yeah.
And we're just like, yeah, but we're good. Because I know, like, I'm going to have to be on the phone hours a day. I'm going to have to be, like,
And there's a
dealing
learning
with
curve
contractors.
with
There's a
anything
learning
new.
curve.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm so grateful. I have to pinch myself every day. Like, how is this my life? I'm
Yeah.
just so grateful that we ended up here. I mean, who you marry is the number one most important thing I say to all the single people out there.
Agreed.
Okay, like who you
that.
marry is so important, because to have somebody who's just steady and who like keeps the minimum and like who prays every day regardless and who reads the word and all that. There's just so many people that are like married to these crazy awesome, they make, $2 million a year, but they're just crazy. I'm so grateful. Anyways.
Love you too.
You made it, dude. That was a compliment.
Been waiting for that my whole life.
That was the first time.
Just like everything in life, like, our kids, our life, everything. We found Texas. Texas is the best state in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's like second in Nevada, but yeah, it's great. No, but like, this is the attitude that people need to have. Like, there's so many people that are so, they're ungrateful. I mean, people are just ungrateful, and they have so much, and they're still
So
ungrateful,
true.
right? That's why, like, everything that we do starts with gratefulness. So, like, today we have our Monday meetings, so I always start with something like everyone shares what they're grateful for in our Monday meetings.
Wow.
At the beginning of our Wealthy Kingdom Bible studies, everybody shares how their week went and something they're grateful for. In our Wealthy Way app, there's a planner and a morning routine thing in there. You got to write 3 things you're grateful for if you're going to use the app. It's free for anyone who wants it. And it's just like, I've thought about that so much over the years because, for me, people will be like, well, yeah, God's blessed you so much. And I'm like, no, I've been doing this a long time when,
Couch
I've
flipping,
always been blessed, but, to the world, I wasn't blessed. It's like, oh man, I'm broke over here flipping couches. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
If and now people probably think it's cool, but back
Right.
then, it's like, what do you do for, like, how do you make, like, I remember people be like, Ryan, how do you make money? I'm like, so it wasn't a thing. There was no social media or anything. I'm like, so I buy couches and I resell them. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. They're like, really? I was like,
Resale couch business.
yeah, I resell couches. That's what I do. Do you have like a store? Yeah, I do. It's in a storage unit. Yeah. It's pretty
Delivery.
cool. Yeah. What's the website? Craigslist. It's all there. And it's like, people are like, okay, dude, like whatever you're going to do with your life. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, but I have freedom to
Yep.
the point.
Yeah.
I was making $8,000 a month doing it, working like 4 hours a day.
Wow.
I was rich.
Yeah. I think one of the main things here that we see going on is that people are so discomfort adverse, right? So they're not willing to put themselves in an uncomfortable situation. They're fighting
Yeah.
to remain comfortable.
That's so
But
true.
nothing great happens in a comfort zone ever.
Dude, you know what I want to bring up too? I was just thinking of this. I had less stress flipping couches than I do today.
Right.
Wow.
Right? Because I had no expenses,
Right.
no overhead. It's just me and Mindy. I had no kids. I had no employees and families and other
Yep.
things like influence, no haters. You don't have any of that stuff, right? And so people would be like, oh, so do you think like you should just have stayed flipping couches? No.
Of course not. Yeah.
Like, God didn't ever say, hey, you're never going to go through hard times or,
Right.
build up
Quite the opposite,
perseverance.
actually.
Yeah. You're never not going to be stressed. Now, he says you shouldn't be anxious. You shouldn't be fearful. I didn't say I'm anxious or fearful.
Yep.
It's just, to me, stress is just like
A lot
hard.
of external pressure on you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like resistance.
Yeah.
I have constant resistance with economy, with all these things, payrolls and, new ideas. And it's like, well, yeah, if you want to accomplish great things,
You're built
expect a
different.
lot of resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's built different in a comfortable culture. But our job is to raise up the culture and show them, look,
Most people
this is
can't
what
handle
looks
it
like.
though. I mean, I would
Yeah.
say 99% of people, give them Ryan Pineda's like following and what he has to go through. 99% of people would break down. I mean, it's
For sure.
you got to be built different. I mean, to endure that kind of.
For sure.
And it's over time.
Yeah.
And you were trained into it. God brought you step by step, and you had plateaus,
Yep.
training periods, plateaus.
We know because we saw you draw
Saw the
the
draft.
curve chart like twice.
Drops. Yep.
And you never retreated.
Yeah.
You just kept going.
Just kept going
And
through it.
You have to have that. The thing is, it's just like in fitness again. Like, how you gonna lose body fat or put on muscle being comfortable? It's not gonna happen.
Never happened. Well, and I've been studying a lot about the life of, guys like David and Joseph and Daniel and these guys who became great leaders, and even Moses. And you start to see that these people were in very prolonged periods of preparation. in order to lead the way they had to lead. You know, it's like Moses was on the run for like 40 years, figuring himself out after having a ton of success the first 40 years, killing a guy, running away, gone for 40, only to come back now really ready. And David's out, you know, getting chased by Saul for over a decade. Just, and he knows he's going to be the king, yet he has to go through all this preparation. And, you know, even with slaying Goliath well before that, it's like he had so much preparation fighting lions and bears and tending sheep and all these things. Like, dude, when he saw Goliath, he's like, dude, I've already beat lions and bears. What do you mean?
Right.
I'm not even scared of this guy. Why are you guys fearful?
Give me one
You guys have never killed a lion? Oh, it's pretty easy.
Who is this uncircumcised Philistine?
Yeah. Who's this guy? I ain't scared of him. Not even circumcised. So, you know, you're like, you go through all this preparation, and Joseph did it. You know, he's in jail for all these years, developing his gifts, getting toughened up to go truly lead. And so, you know, for anyone who wants to achieve great things, this doesn't even have to be a biblical thing, but it's like, okay, well, you got to go get refined.
There's a training period for sure.
There's always a preparation period. Like all those years I was flipping couches and it was weird. And like nobody, like I had to think, learn to make money and sell and be in uncomfortable situations in people's homes, just picking up couches and selling them. And, you know, then I had to go and learn how to live off of $1,200 a month playing baseball and get creative to go follow a dream and travel. And I just think about that whole training period, which I would say is like my 20s. And now, you know, I'm in my 30s and I'm like, okay, you know, that led to the success that I've had in my 30s. But what is God preparing me for right now in my 30s that I'm going to have in my 40s?
It's crazy.
And I think about that and I'm like, huh. You know, and to me, it seems like the ministry side is going to be that next stage that happens. And it's like, all right, well, I need you to go through a lot of things on that front to prepare you.
Yeah. Wow. And look what happens when people don't have that training period. Anyone who's
success right away?
Yeah.
You're dead.
Look at lottery winners.
Yeah.
All the people that win the lottery, I mean, how many of them sustain wealth?
Or child superstars, hate to say it, but so sad, so hard.
You know what you got me thinking about when you said your goal was to be a self-funded missionary was, you know, just Paul, right? Paul was a tent maker.
Yeah.
And that's actually the name of our group within Wealthy Kingdom. They're tent makers. And, you know, it's these people who are self-funding the kingdom while also being, you know, evangelists and disciples and everything. And it's like, I am curious your take on this because, you know, obviously you have normal missionaries who, you know, get support and do their thing. And you're like, I don't want to do that. I want to self-fund everything that we do.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I mean, per se.
Right.
But you can't have all missionaries just waiting around, you know, for funding.
Yeah.
We
and
also
nobody
do
ready
fund
to go.
Missionaries too.
And and we do fund as well.
Yeah. That's why it's like, I think about that too, because the reason I'm bringing this up is there are people who God gave the gift of preaching the word and being in full-time ministry, and they need to be supported, and pastors and missionaries and everything else. Then God gave the gift of people to be entrepreneurs and to go build businesses and, you know, have influence and go do those things. But what I will say is with the entrepreneurs and everything is that we also, because of our influence, because of our resources, we can't just say, oh, well, I wrote a check to a missionary. I
don't have to like.
That's not my responsibility.
Right.
My responsibility is to go make money for the kingdom. I used to think that. And it's like, yeah, my spiritual gift, I'm generous.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, but I also made you for a lot more than that.
Yeah.
It's time to also go be a missionary just in the field you're in. I don't need you to go to Africa. I don't need you to.
Yeah. I mean,
just
you're an
do it
evangelist
right
for sure.
here.
You're an evangelist for anything. You could evangelize flipping. You could like you're an evangelist. That's for sure you.
Yeah. But that's every entrepreneur. Like your mission field is right in front of you.
Yeah.
It's all of your tenants.
Yeah.
It's your cleaners. It's your employees.
Absolutely.
It's your coworkers. Like we're all in the mission field.
And it goes beyond your outward actions, right? Writing a check is needed.
Yeah.
But where's your heart at? Why are you writing the check? Because you can write a check to be seen writing the check. You can write a check to get a tax write-off.
Yeah.
Or you can be writing a check because your heart is in this and you want to bless this person.
Yeah.
You know, you want this mission or whatever the outcome is to be successful.
Right.
You want to be behind it and running with these people in some way.
Yeah. No, I love it. And I love, being with other kingdom-minded entrepreneurs, because obviously we need more of them. And, you know, my hope is that not only are people going to, you know, explore this option of, you know, insurance rentals and everything else and gain freedom through that, but for all of the kingdom entrepreneurs listening to say, okay, you know what? It is time for me to kind of get more bold on that front and use my resources in a better way. So
Amen.
Spill it. Come on.
appreciate you guys sharing your testimony and
Hey,
how
appreciate
good
you.
God has been in your life and growing this. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. So where can people connect with you guys?
Yeah, so they can find us at vettedhomes.com.
Spell it?
VETTED homes.
Okay, vettedhomes.com for everyone.
That's where our course curriculum, everything lives. You can find us on IG at Vetted Homes,
Yep.
YouTube, Vetted Homes.
YouTube Vetted Homes.
It's all Vetted Homes.
And then if you really, really want to find us, you'll have to dig in there a little bit because our IGs are pretty personal.
There we go.
And it's just all about, you know, us.
Our kids and stuff.
Yeah. The traveling family.
Yeah.
The traveling band.
And we don't even often post, honestly. We got back from like 7 weeks
You guys
in
should
Europe.
vlog.
I know, right?
But the thing is,
It'd
it's
be
just
interesting.
It just takes more time, you know? It's
I
just
know,
like-
but don't put like, I don't know, because you're probably taking a lot anyways for like family memories.
It is.
I know. We could just send it to
I'm
like
a
our
huge
social guy
fan.
and be like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of latergrams. You know, I
Yeah.
take all the stuff and then like, you know, a month later, sometimes 3 months later, I'm posting stuff.
People are like, you're in Iraq still, Jason?
You're like,
I was
no,
that was last
I'm
year.
on the beach.
Exactly.
So funny.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, go check it out, especially if you want to get in the insurance game, and make sure you subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.